Okay, we're going to look at closing the distance, a few different self-defense situations right here. Get our hands up. Okay. Okay. So previously we looked at closing the distance and we talked about the 2 arm length position and how to maintain a safe range, crash through, attach yourself, a couple of different clinch positions that we looked at. Okay. What we're looking at now, it's going to be similar, but the scenarios are going to be a little different. In the previous lesson we looked at, you both are willingly engaged into a fight, and we have to figure out how to stay safe and crash through at a safe distance. The first one we're going to look at right now is when the person, your opponent, is not in a wild frenzy, wild state of mind, trying to just crash through and come through wild. So he's a little more conservative, a little more passive aggressive. What I mean by that is every time that I step forward, maybe he backs away a little bit. So he isn't maintaining the distance here. So if I just put my head down and try to crash through, it's very easy for him to counter punch me or get out of the way, and it becomes kind of like a very frustrating thing for me. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to create a distraction for him. I'm not really planning on engaging with strikes with him. My strike here is just a distraction. I just want to bring his hands up to try to deal with my punch, so it creates an opening for me. Now if I hit him, fantastic, but that's not my goal. All I'm going to do is I got my distance established. I'm going to wind up a big punch. He's probably going to block it. It's just instinctive. And then I'm going to drop underneath. And now I make my clinch position. Notice that I knock him back several steps as I come in to make him off balance. And notice we're in that T position, or I could also go to the 3-legged monster, which we talked about previously. Okay? So let's look at it again one time. He's kind of like backing away from me a little bit, backing away. All right? Big punch. Even if he didn't step in, like Matt's stepping in a little bit because he wants to close the distance, if he just put his hands up, I could still do the move. So here, just raise your hand. I could still close the distance, okay? So that's going to be a very easy strategy that you can employ to close the distance. All right, here's another real common way fights start. Is the guy's just going to get up right in your face and he's going to shove you, okay? Sorry. Now, here's the way you want to position yourself, okay? Know this, every time that you ball up your digits here to punch, the fight is on. He's going to start swinging wild at you, and things are going to get crazy really fast. So when I'm in a argument or confrontation with someone I think that could escalate to a dangerous situation, I have a stance that I use. I call it fake surrender. What that is I've got 1 foot back and 1 foot forward. My back leg gives me some stability so that if I were to get pushed or shoved, look, my foot back here doesn't leave me like thrown all over the place. If my feet are square, not only do I have more targets, but it's easy for him to shove. So that's the first thing here. 1 foot back, 1 foot forward. Second thing is hands up in a very non-threatening way and very open. Okay, so the idea here is, once again, he doesn't sense here that I'm going to attack or threaten him at all. So with this body language, it could happen that he feels like he's really intimidating you. He's going to make himself feel real big. It's very inviting for him to come in and like shove you from this position. So here's what's going to happen real slowly. My foot is back, my hands are up. I slap down on his wrist as he goes to make contact with my chest, and I step forward with my back leg, knock him back a couple of steps, and make the clinch here. Okay? The most common mistake here are 2 things. One, in your passive stance here, your fake surrender stance, keeping your hands too close together. This actually looks a little more threatening, doesn't it? Just from here, even though my hands are not balled up, he's a little more defensive-minded here. He's thinking, oh, this guy's like upset. So hands really open. Secondly, when you do your deflection, I don't want to slap his hands up. Push again. If I go this way, he's going to grab me. Okay, he has the inside track. If I slap his hands down, try to grab me in a bear hug, go ahead. Look, it can't happen. It doesn't work. So as he comes forward, slap down, step forward, knock him back, and attach yourself. Okay? Let's see, another very common position here. Another very common position is the person who wants to grab you by one hand, with one hand, right? Kind of like a hockey fight. He's going to keep you at bay, and he's going to tattoo you with that other hand. So this hand is Irritating in the sense that he can off-balance you and sling you around with it, and while you're trying to get this hand off of you, you're getting hit in the head with the other punch. Now, I do not recommend trying to do any type of submission or lock to disarm while he's got that hand in an aggressive mode over there, okay? Because like I said, as soon as I start to come here and attack this arm, it's very little reaction time for him to do a big punch here. Especially if he's bigger and stronger, it's not that easy to get this arm off of you while he's trying to punch. So here's what I recommend for this position. I don't worry about this hand at all right now, okay? What I'm going to worry about is this arm, which is the one that can hurt me. So what I'm going to do is I come underneath his arm, and I just make like a spear position with my hand. So I'm not trying to grab his wrist or his hand, I just make a block. So as his hand comes in to strike, he kind of runs into the shield, and then I start looking for his hand. 1, 2. I've got two hands, one on top of the other. Now the other thing that's very important that I do here is I do not stand still or I do not back up. I do not retreat. The only thing that I do is I move forward. So I just put my head down and I just start staggering forward. Keep your balance a little bit. The whole point of this is just to make it to where if he lets go with his hand, he can't strike me with it. That's going to be my opportunity to grab him and make a clinch, okay? If he were to grab me, I make my spear and I back up, he can punch me very quickly with that hand. If I make my spear and grab and I stand still, same thing. But if I go forward, yes, I close the distance as soon as he releases my hand. So that's basically all I'm going to do. I don't know how long it's going to take. It's going to depend on him. He will eventually let go because he figures he can't do anything with his hand, okay? The whole time, yes, I'm just lumbering forward, then I make my clinch. All right, so let's do a real quick review of what we just saw there. Slowly, my hands are up. He's kind of like 2 arm length distance. He's back. He's not really being aggressive. I'm going to make a fake. I come underneath, knock him back a couple of steps, and make my position here. Number 2, fake surrender. Slap down, knock him back, and make your position. Make your clinch. Number 3, he's got to grab here. I spear, head pressure, forward, 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 release, and clinch. Okay, so we look at several different ways to close the full takedown. Okay, let's take a look at what just happened there. We've talked about establishing the clinch a variety of ways. Previously, we had the T position here. We had the 3-legged monster. We have some takedowns and strategies that we've previously discussed for those positions. Sometimes my opponent, you will recognize that this is a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of angle, and they'll try to square himself up with me. In other words, yes, this way. So what happens is, it becomes a little more difficult to trip his leg. This is a great opportunity to do the bear hug or body fold technique. So what happens here, let's look at it real slow. As he starts to turn and face me, freeze. Okay, what I'm going to do here, step a little bit. My foot now makes like a triangle position. His 2 feet and my foot here make like a triangle. My back foot, it steps right to the outside edge of his foot, and my hands are locked right here along his low back. I'm going palm to palm with 1 palm up, 1 palm down. And this allows me to utilize the big pulling muscle groups in my back and arms. My head is high against his chest, and if you notice, there's a little space between my hip and his hip. What I'm going to do here is just pull his stomach into that space right here. And he loses all of his balance. When we train it, it's kind of uncomfortable on your friend here, so I don't think that it's necessary for you guys to repeatedly crash to the floor on top of your friend. I'll show it one time kind of slow and show you how you want to control the technique. Practice it once or twice like this, and then we'll just practice the off-balance portion to get the feel of the technique. So we're in this position here. I'm going to pull his hips in. Once I feel him start to lean, I take a step over with this foot and hold my position. Real strong right here. Okay, now I can set him down, let my hands go, and I'll be mounted. Of course, I did that very slow and controlled. You can imagine if you do it quickly, what a high impact takedown that could be, not to mention the uncomfortable pressure it puts on his low back. So the way we're going to drill is you've attached yourself, he starts to square up with you, you drop him base and just, this portion right here is going to make him fall. Once you feel him start to get on his heels and fall back, you can just release and continue with another position. One more time. We're in the clinch, he circles up, get my base and off balance, and that's going to be the body pull takedown.